Welcome to Productivity 101, your podcast about productivity, growth, and project management. My name is Kamil, and I will be your host. But not the flow you know, and you have been reading about the concept from the positive psychology, being in the zone, and so on. I want to talk about the negative flow. You never heard about it, at least not at this name. You may be familiar with the concept of resistance from the book Do the Work, which is fantastic, by the way. But many of us in our everyday work struggle, attempt to be productive. We are trying to get in the zone, get the flow, and just work like there is no tomorrow and without any distractions, just on one thing, and which brings the brilliant results and so on. So this is all great, right? And me and you, we have experienced that probably many times in our lives. But there is also a dark side to the flow about which not so many people are talking about, and I think it's at least worth mentioning that this is like, both-sided axe, which, okay, you can kill the enemy, but the same weapon can kill you in some way. So what is it all about, right? So okay, you probably know those situations where you are binge watching Netflix for hours. Some people call it procrastination, but I think the essence is a little bit deeper than just calling it all procrastination. The root cause is different. And as well as you can get into this good flow where you are concentrated on work and being productive and bringing something to this world in the positive way, the same thing works in other direction, where it can be very, very destructive at times. So what's important is to just have this, to just know and be aware that there is this other side of the flow. The negative flow idea, you should know about it, be aware, and pay attention to what you are doing, right? Because okay, if you are in the positive flow, right, you are working and you notice that, right? But you are like, okay, but let's continue, and you continue what you are doing currently, and it's going so well, right? But the problem is when, for example, you are watching the 5th or 6th episodes of Netflix show or whatever. This is not about Netflix, really. It's about the certain behavior which brings problems, right? Because this way, let's say, this is just example about watching TV and series. Let's say one episode is like 45 minutes, 1 hour. If you binge watch the whole series, it's like 10 hours taken from your life. I know that sometimes we need a break. We need to, just disconnect our brain. Don't think about the current problems. Just focus on some story, for example, that can engage our brain enough so we don't think about everyday problems or work problems or whatever it is, right? But I think that the important factor here, the most important factor is awareness. If you are aware and you can give this self-check yourself, let's say, try to build a habit. Like if you watch TV, Netflix, whatever, series, after one episode, just make a habit of getting up, stretching, for example. And this physical activity can make enormous difference, because otherwise you maybe stand up only to go to the toilet, for example, after few hours, or if you are like super hungry, okay, you will get the pizza right from the door, because there is delivery, of course. So my advice, the physical activity which can break the cycle, this is probably the strongest weapon you can use against the negative flow, because it's all in your mind, in our minds. I'm fighting with the same things, and this awareness, the physical activity, it helps enormously to just stop at the right moment, when you didn't waste all day, for example, for something which doesn't matter. But I was talking about TV and things like procrastination, but negative flow can be also, you may not notice it's negative flow. There are certain situations. I will be talking like from my experience as a programmer right now. When people are programming, if you are a programmer, you are aware, but for people who doesn't know the topic and doesn't know how the programmer's brain works when he's programming, it's extreme focus. It's like, if you can't get into the flow state, you can't program really well. You can code. So most of the programmers can trigger this flow, this good flow state, almost every day. And it's pretty easy with practice. It's becoming a habit. Of course, it costs us a lot as well, but there are certain things like, okay, you have your coffee, you have your desk, you have your headphones, you have your music. Those kind of things helps you to get in the flow, like specific environment, less distractions, let's say. That's why I think that the office environment is not very good for being productive necessarily, not for programmers. There are too many distractions, especially open space. Open space is a disaster for programmers. It's like, and what's more funny, I heard, I'm living in Tokyo, Japan right now, and I was talking with someone. This person was working as a programmer, and he told me from his experience that one company who was hiring as well programmers, they didn't allow programmers to use headphones. They were thinking that this is the distraction for them. But actually, I think if music and being cut off from like outside sound can really help you to get into the flow state. So they were actually working against themselves. But whatever, it's not my problem, right? Just one of the stories. So let's get back to the topic. Negative flow for the programmers. It's very hard to notice, but I know from my experience, like I can start focusing on some problem, and then you can go from one problem to another, right? And then after 4 hours, you have done something, let's say, if you are lucky, but the core problem was not touched at all. So this is the thing which I believe is the biggest problem, how how to distinguish, how to stay on topic, and when to say stop. Because this is also very, very important skill. Like, okay, I tried this and that. Those were the most probable scenarios which I should have tried. It didn't work. We need to try different approach. I'm putting this away for now. Let's think about it in like more people, maybe. Maybe let's discuss this on Slack or whatever. But in most cases, it ends like banging with your head in the wall and trying to solve the issue, which not necessarily will bring the results you would like to have. So this is very common for programmers. This specific problem where you can focus very, very strongly on solving the issue, but while solving the thing, you get carried away in your search a little bit too far, or you focus on that thing, but you did lose lose the time. Let's say you stop noticing the time, right? Like in the flow state, it's the flow state, but negative flow, and after several hours, you have nothing to show. You have the work is not done, and you feel like crap, to be honest, because it's exhausting. In this kind of state, this negative flow, it's really exhausting. Like even if you are watching Netflix, I'm pretty sure you don't feel good after this kind of session, this negative flow session, like several hours of that. It never feels good. That's one of the indicators. Like in flow, when you are doing something constructive and productive, you feel it's good, and even if you are tired, you feel it's like good tired, right? I know it may be hard to distinguish, but there is this gut feeling you probably also have, and you can say, okay, this was like super productive, difficult problem, but I could do this and that, and it resolved this and that, right? So let's say you can wrap up the problem, narrow it down, that your mind was working in this, let's say, positive way. But if you are getting into this negative flow where you are losing track of time, losing track of problem, and you finally get stuck with something which could be, in many cases, very simple to solve, but if you just step back. So this is one of the things, the stepping back, this, standing up, stretching, just getting away from the screen for some time. It brings enormous effects. Like it's very surprising. Well, not so surprising after you practice, but working more not necessarily means better work. So what I'm trying to do, I try to at least every 2 hours make a break. I try to go out from the home office, whatever it is, at least 3 or 4 times during, let's say, 8-hour period, and just take a walk, clear my mind, get back to the tasks or the task I was working before on, with fresh approach, with this different perspective. Because if you can't solve this problem, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you will work 3 hours more you will solve this problem, because maybe you are retrying or just stuck with some ideas. So in this situation it's much better to just get up, get out of the house, clean your mind. Ideas, it will come to you. It's very natural process. I think I'm not expert in psychology or anything like that, but I think on subconscious level we are processing many things, and if you are working on complex problems like many programmers do. Those your brain sometimes needs more time than you are aware of to process all the information. And then when you give it the time, you just chill out for a moment, get out, not focus for a moment. It will do the work. It will give you the answers you are looking for, and you can be much more productive this way. So that's it in today's episode. I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments. Please subscribe as well. It will help me a lot to grow this podcast, this channel, and talk to you in about a week. I will bring you some fresh and new and good content. Bye bye.